just under, we're at an inch and 5/8 by an inch and an eighth. Teeny tiny cards, dude.
Yeah, that is honestly smaller than I was expecting. Like, are they legal for play even?
Well, you can't like shuffle these into like they do multiple sets. You can't like shuffle these into like and like show up at your
that's a good point.
At like a modern tournament. I mean, you hypothetically maybe, but you'd lose. They're an official product.
Like, what if you showed up with an entire deck of cards that small? Would you be allowed to use them in play?
Depends on the format, I'm gonna say.
Okay, fair enough. You've got me there. That is a good point.
I bet you could play this deck against like your friend's like standard size deck. You'd have a very tough time reading the text on them, but you could read it. You can read it. Like the cards are fully reprinted. These are 60 card pre-constructed decks. You could sit down and play a game of Magic the Gathering with these, like against each other or potentially against somebody else's big size deck. Couldn't do it at a Friday Night Magic because there's no way the cards in these are like in rotation right now. But
exactly.
All I want to do is play world's smallest Magic the Gathering with somebody. Like I want to like carry these things around in my pocket and just be ready to go at any point, you know, just like throw down with somebody like at a Burger King. I don't know. I didn't plan on talking about those. They're just on my desk and I was just like holding them, fidgeting, and there they are. So
that's fine. Every episode has to have an intro. It's all good.
Sure, we kind of got there naturally, but what I was really going to try to say is like this is an evening, a nighttime recording, I'd say, for us.
It sure is.
We don't always record this late.
We generally record in the afternoon or early evening, but this is later than we usually record, yeah.
Yeah. So when I do a late record, I like to have a little drink, you know.
I actually have a drink as well.
Well, what are you drinking?
Well, I actually, just before we started recording, I finished off a bottle of cream soda.
Oh, nice.
But I have a second drink here, and that second drink is a 24-ounce bottle of Faygo orange soda.
No fucking way. You're drinking Faygo? Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah. Dude, Faygo comes from somewhere like 40 minutes away from me. Yo. Every store in this area sells Faygo, and you get 24 ounces for like $1.10.
Holy moly.
Like you get more drink for less money than if I were to buy like a Pepsi or whatever.
Yeah, dude. We used to have, I think it was out when Albertsons was open down here, they would carry Faygo, and me and my friend Ryan in like middle school would get 3-liter bottles because they sold them in 3 liters, not 2 liters, like all like the Cokes and Pepsis. 3-liter bottle.
They 3 liters, baby. That is correct.
Of Faygo Moon Mist, the Mountain Dew knockoff. Oh, brother. Man, we loved that.
I should specify that bottle of cream soda I had was also Faygo.
Also Faygo, okay.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it. And I know the juggalos in the crowd are feeling it too.
You know it, baby. Whoop, whoop, I should say.
Shout out to Tony Z.
That's right.
But yeah, I'm sipping on a little Wild Turkey bourbon. Just got a finger in the glass here. Not like my fingers in the glass, like I have a finger's amount.
Yeah, I'm aware of what that. Just because I don't drink doesn't mean I'm not aware it exists.
Kenny, I know you don't imbibe. That wasn't for your benefit. That was for the person listening who's like, why is he sticking his finger in his drink? What a weirdo. I was pulling the David, you know.
That's right.
But I picked up the Wild Turkey. I was thinking like, damn, I should have gotten Jack Daniels. You know, like Tennessee likes to drink. And then I was like, no, glad I didn't.
Yeah. I mean, he died. Well, actually, no, he didn't die. He's one of only 2 that didn't. So maybe you should have. It would save your life, maybe.
I mean, he's gonna die. Like,
that's true.
There's no way David's letting them out. Him and Daniels, they're toast.
Well, you never know. Maybe like a fucking protomorph hatches in the bay and then kills David for some reason. Who fucking knows?
Maybe.
You know?
Although I gotta say, like, they are going hardcore. The pathogen DLC, the pathogen campaign just dropped for Aliens Fireteam Elite, right?
Yep. Yep.
We've got that new Alien novel.
Inferno's Fall, I believe it's called. And that brings in like the Xenomorphs and the pathogen.
It's just,
and
the engineers in the Juggernaut, like they are absolutely present. Like they're just, So they are fully like, at least in expanded universe stuff, like, nope, we're bringing it all into continuity. And maybe that means there is room after all for our Alien, the original screenplay story, to be just a different monster and a different crew having a bad day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's no reason why two sort of similar things can't both happen, you know? I mean, like every Alien movie is kind of the same thing, so there's no reason why that story couldn't also just happen, you know?
Yeah, man. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see him just have the courage, the bravery to say.
Do like a Godzilla Final Wars where it's the Xenomorph versus the creature, you know?
Hell yeah. but like a better fight than Final Wars, right? Like we don't want to.
Well, sure. I mean, the one that was Godzilla versus Zilla was really bad. I mean, admittedly, it was bad on purpose. Yeah. But that doesn't mean it wasn't bad,
had
you know?
Sum 41 song playing, though. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was a weird ass fucking movie.
It was a very weird movie. Yes, that is correct.
I love Final Wars. Final Wars is good.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember enjoying it last time I watched it. So
still fun. Still a good one. But Kenny, what are we doing here?
Well, we've decided to how should I phrase this? Try a little experiment.
Sure.
Well, actually, I suppose before I get to exactly what we're doing, I suppose we should actually like make it clear to all the listeners what the hell's even like this is, you know?
Yeah, so just as a quick reminder to everybody, we are broadcasting live from the USCSS podcast. Now, I know it doesn't seem live because you're downloading it, but that's just because the audio has to get sent back to Earth because we're in Zeta 2 Reticuli, right? And then they then like hard record it and then they can send it out from there. It's what you got to do when you're in deep space like we are.
It's live to tape is generally what you call that.
Well, but we have speakers just pointed to the outside of the ship, just broadcasting out into nearby space.
So anyone that happens to drive or fly by close enough can listen in. I got
theoretically, yeah. We got the windows open and we got our speakers pointed out. You know,
that is correct.
Yeah.
But as you pointed out, we're broadcasting from the USCSS podcast. And what is it that we're broadcasting, you may ask? Well, I'll answer your question right now. This is Crew Expendable, and I am one of your hosts, wide range of benefits enjoyer Rohrbacher.
And I am causer of systemic famine and economic collapse Hallstrom. That's a name you gave me, by the way.
You could have chosen a different one. And we're just a couple of ex-military guys free soloing up the side of the entire Alien franchise.
Holy moly. I dig it.
Well, I'm glad you do, and I'm glad you actually get that reference because sorry, not listeners, crew, I apologize. Crew, all you listeners out there, the crew, we're trying something new out today. As you may have gathered from the title of the episode, today's episode is about Alien Volume 2 Number 1, published, I believe, September 7th, 2022 by Marvel Comics. We are covering the brand new issue of the new run of the Marvel Alien comic that just came out like yesterday or whatever when we're recording this.
Sure, live to tape.
Correct. Yeah. And the reason that's an experiment is because when we decided to record this episode, we decided that I will read the issue and Neal will not. So when we sit down to record this episode, Neal will not yet have read the issue and he will be reading it while we record this episode.
That's right. I have not read this yet. No, that does not mean I will be reading it to you.
Yeah, we're not doing that. It's like he will be reading it and then we will be discussing it while he's reading it. Yes.
And this, we haven't put a lot of thought into this, how this is going to work.
Yeah, like logistically, we're not entirely sure yet how we're going to do it. I mean, crew, by the time you guys are listening to it, will have clearly already made that decision.
It's going to be chopped and screwed and polished.
Exactly. As of right now, we don't know exactly how we're going to do it. We're just going to kind of wing it and see what works and figure out how to do it. So.
Yeah, because we're just up here, and we're the only two on this fucking boat up here in space, right? Like, and this is...
We got nothing better to do, you know?
This is, again, as a reminder, this is the Sulaco. We stole this, or we found this. This is a huge ship. Like,
yeah.
We can't even get it running to get home. Like, it takes way more than the two of us. It's just the two of us. We had that terraformer Jade stop by for a minute, but she's gone. She Baja blasted out of here.
She sure did.
Now it's just you and me again. So we got to do something to kill the time.
Yeah,
right?
we just got, I mean, otherwise we're just chilling. So we may as well do this, you know?
Yeah. So is it weird to you that they're already doing a new Alien #1?
Well, okay. Short answer, no, because long answer, it is a comic book printed by Marvel, and they are constantly relaunching their books with new #1s because a comic with a #1 on it sells more. So they're constantly rebooting and, well, not even rebooting, just relaunching their comics constantly all of the time.
Okay, that's fair. Because I know, I mean, this is like the same, I think that it's the same writer for sure. Philip Kennedy Johnson.
It's the same writer, but it is a different illustrator than the previous run of like, you know, the 1 through 12 and then the annual.
Marvel's
those
Alien
13 issues. Those 13 issues, that is a different artist than the one that's on this comic I read today.
Gotcha. And I read the first story arc of that 12-issue run. I started the second. I was kind of in the middle of the second, just reading it for fun when this relaunch finally happened, because the trade for that only came out maybe 3 weeks ago, something like that.
It might have even come out more recently than that. Yeah, I mean, it like just came out like within the last 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like halfway through that when this hit, and then I was like, okay, stop your grinning and drop your linen. We're gonna start covering the new #1 series.
You don't even know this because, as we discussed earlier, you haven't read this issue yet, but they actually reference the second story arc of volume 1 in this book.
Interesting. All right.
I mean, they reference it in the vaguest of terms. They were just like, you know, the incident or whatever.
Sure.
And they don't really go into a lot of specifics about what happens in it. But like they do call back to the events of that storyline at one point in this issue. So
now, I'm not going to lie. That first Marvel story arc I read, I don't think I really liked it. Like, it was fine. I didn't love it. You know what I mean?
I definitely have some thoughts on it that I'm sure we're going to cover that run of the comics on the show. For sure. Like, I mean, I know we're going to eventually, but like very briefly, the gist of it is it's fine. There's nothing like capital W wrong with it, but at the end of the day, it's still pretty much exactly the same story as every single other Aliens story, you know?
I remember the sort of espionage element and like some betrayal and stuff like that. The human moments were pretty cool in that, but it was kind of just aliens loose on a space station, right? And a guy who's encountered them before having to go in and help deal with it.
Yeah, and like there's a little bit of other things that I'm going to talk about when we get a little bit further into this issue, because there is something that happens in this that I kind of want to use as a jumping off point to talk about something from the first volume, but we'll get into that momentarily.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. Let's jump into this bad boy then. Alien #1, volume 2 #1, pardon me.
Correct. Yes.
By Philip Kennedy Johnson. Looks like Julius Ota and Yen Nitro is the art team. Maybe. I'm looking at the cover.
Philip Kennedy Johnson, Julius Oda, and Yen Nitro. That is correct.
Okay. I'm looking at this front cover here, and it is a Xenomorph with the smooth skull, right? The way we like
Yep.
him, personally. Who has ripped a synthetic in half, and this synthetic is just white bleeding everywhere.
I'm not gonna lie, I fucking love this cover.
This is a good cover, but I mean,
it looks cool. I like conceptually, I like the idea that this cover implies that the Xenomorph will be fighting synthetics, because that's not generally something they do. So that's like not something we've really seen before. And so that kind of makes me go, yeah, all right, I would kind of want to see that.
There was this long-term thing where people were like, oh, the alien doesn't fuck with synthetics except for the Queen and Bishop for some reason. And like, I don't know. I never really thought that was a thing, but like I kind of just believed it was true. Like, though the aliens don't fuck with synthetics.
I mean, it's one of like the rationalization I always had was that since like somehow Xenomorphs since they can like sense that they're not alive in the biological sense,
right?
They just don't worry about them because they can't like, impregnate them or whatever.
Sure, they can't procreate off of a. What if they could?
What if they could?
I
exactly.
Bet we see that
but
in
like
fucking Marvel comic eventually.
Yeah, it'll probably show up sooner or later. But like what I was getting at though is that it's not like the Xenomorphs are unaware synthetics exist,
Right.
And they just like, don't bother with them because they don't have like a biological imperative to go after them.
Sure.
But like if a synthetic is like bothering a Xenomorph, the Xenomorph like will fight back and attack it,
Right. Yeah.
They just don't go out of their way.
That makes sense.
To go after synthetics,
It's like if the vacuum cleaner's in your way, you're gonna move it, right? It's like that.
Yeah.
And for aliens, the way they move things is ripping them in half and throwing the two halves each to a different side so they can walk straight forward.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah.
The other thing I really liked about this cover is that I like the way the Xenomorph itself is drawn.
Yeah.
Like I like the shading and I like the light reflecting off of the top of its head. Like it just the little details of it, it looks really fucking cool.
Yeah, so this is the main cover. It was done by Bjorn Berens.
Right.
Fucking stellar work there. There's alternate covers.
It's great.
Alternate covers by Ryan Brown, Travis Charest, Carlos Magno, and Alex Guimaraes. But this base cover is hardcore. I just got excited because I'm like checking in on the back, and you can see like an ovomorph back there. Maybe maybe a couple of them back there behind the guy. Definitely one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a bunch of them. Yeah, this is a sick fucking cover.
Yeah, it's real fucking good.
Yeah. All right. So just starting with the cover, so far, A+ on this comic book. All right, I'm gonna jump in. Okay. So we're dealing with a hologram here, welcoming us to a planet called Tobler 9.
Yep.
This is a Weyland-Yutani planet, I assume. We see a whole bunch of atmosphere processors in the back, and there's like some blood stains on the sidewall here of this escalator.
There sure is.
Okay.
Just while you're processing and reading, I'll just let the I'll let the viewer or the listeners know, the crew know. Basically, like when he says it's like a futuristic city, imagine like a kind of Logan's Run-esque thing, where everything is like curves and everything is white and there's a lot of like swooping spires and arches and everything like that. Like when you think like a stereotypical sci-fi futuristic city, this is what it looks like, except we're standing at the top of an escalator and there is a splash of blood on the side of the escalator and we don't know why yet.
It's a nice detail. Well, we do know why. It's a fucking Weyland-Yutani planet. Like,
well, sure, but we don't know.
Death follows them everywhere.
Yeah, well, true, but like we don't know what specific situation that's happening on this planet that caused this blood to be there. Yes.
So I just want to say that they're selling this place as welcome to a market where the future isn't decided by governments or lobbyists or even public opinion, but by you, the investor. So this is just a capitalist hellscape of a planet, Right.
I don't know if they ever specifically go into it or not, but yeah, this is like this, as you mentioned, this planet is like run by Wayland Yutani, and so it's like the kind of place that, like, investors and like market capitalists and people like that, like,
Yeah.
they're the type of people that Wayland Yutani is trying to attract to this planet.
Yeah, we've got like one of those big sci-fi clone tubes with like a fetus floating in it.
Mm-hmm.
Echoes of alien resurrection, I guess. That's weird. Just like some shots of this place interspersed with these panels of people, like look like they're running in terror from something, and like a teddy bear falling, and man.
And you can tell that those panels are intended to be read separately from everything else.
Yes.
Because those panels are washed in red as opposed to everything else, which is bright and well lit,
Yeah, dude, it's like a mass evacuation. Like everyone is trying to get to the train. Train is overcrowded. Dude, soldiers are here. Sorry, the Marines are here. I'm assuming they're Marines. It may just be Wayland's Yutani security, actually.
And they are threatening to shoot people for trying to get on the trains.
Yeah, I like this opening. I like this automated hologram, like selling you on like the virtues of the city while like a disaster's happened. I kind of love that shit. It's like when might have been Jurassic World coming up again on the show for the first time in a while, where like the holograms and stuff that were like in the welcome center were still running as they were like making their escape, and like the whole place was like destroyed.
I think that was Jurassic World. Yeah, I haven't seen it in a while, admittedly, so I'm not sure, but that does sound familiar. I think that's what that was from.
Or like any number of Doctor Who episodes where they go to some place where like the library or whatever, where a disaster's happened and all the automated systems are still, gonna automated system being anyway.
Correct. Yeah,
right,
I know what you meant.
All right, so I saw this coming, right? We see the green slime dropping on these guns. The Xenomorphs are here. Fucking brutal Xenomorphs appear. They like rip someone's head, the security guy's heads off, like in half, and then the body in half. This is a hell of an opening.
There's 2 armed guards that are blocking people from getting on the train. One of them gets the top half of its head cut off from the nose up, just like horizontally sliced and popped off. The other one just gets ripped in half at the waist.
Classic Xenomorph deaths. But man, what's that crowd going to do? Oh no. All right, so now we get our credits, right? So we've got... So this story is called Alien Icarus. Shocked. First of all, shocked that name hasn't been used yet. Second of all,
tell me about it.
The Icarus was, of course, the Icarus and Icarus 2 were, of course, the ships in Sunshine, bringing that reference back to the podcast as well. I've only seen 2 movies outside of the Alien and Friday the 13th franchises, that is. And they are Jurassic World.
Jurassic World and Sunshine, and the third one, and a third movie, Hobbs and Shaw. Don't forget that.
No, I only saw half of Hobbs and Shaw. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
You're right. Shit, I apologize. Sorry.
Okay, so Julius Ota is the artist. Yen Nitro is the colorist. Clayton Cowles, VC's Clayton Cowles is the letterer. Philip K. Johnson, the writer. Same guy who wrote the last volume of this too. All right. Now, moving on, we are in the year 2217 on the planet Europa 5, and this place is cool. Look, this place is fucking rad. You got like beautiful fauna. You've got tree houses, like Ewok style tree houses.
Yep, this place is like, it's a lot more natural than the last place. There's like big waterfalls, and there's like mushrooms big enough that you can stand on, and so on and so forth.
So Kenny, because I hadn't read this, you came up with my designation, a list of designations I could choose from. Yep. Now I see why guy reading a book while sitting on a leaf is one of them.
That is correct.
Yeah, there's a guy sitting on a leaf.
Yeah, there's literally a guy sitting on a leaf that is like the size of like a beach chair, and he's just like chilling and reading a book. There's someone else who is standing on top of like a mushroom or a leaf or something that is big enough that she's standing there with like an easel, like painting the sunset or whatever.
This place is like a paradise. This place is like an idyllic, Eden of some sort, right?
It sure is.
Moving on, we've got Chell from Portal doing some free climbing.
See, this is the free solo reference I made earlier.
There it is. All right.
Although I hate to spoil it for you, considering I said ex-military guys when I said that. Sorry for ruining that twist later.
Oh, that's all right. So she's just like doing some free climbing. Again, beautiful planet, very cool landscape, and she's getting shot at.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She sure as hell is.
Everybody get up. The organics have found us. No, wait. Okay, so she's attacking some people. We're going to cut to, she's calling some other characters. So we got our named characters here. Nora, Seth, Eli, Astrid. Okay, and I guess those four plus her are going to be our main group, and I don't know her name yet.
They say it later on. Her name turns out to be Freya.
Freya, okay. All right. So everyone's like jumping into action. They're jumping off the giant leaves and mushrooms and stuff, and everyone's fucking ripped and hot and looks like a superhero, and like we're getting superhero poses, right?
Well, that is because of something that you maybe didn't notice last time or was skipping over or whatever.
So they're synthetics, right? Like
they're synths. That's the reason why they're all ripped and hot, because they were designed that way.
So they're still in 2117 or 2217. What year is it? 2217. They're back to designing synthetics like David's as opposed to Ash's, right?
Correct. Yes.
Not taking shots at Ian Holm, but like, you know, he's not David. He's not Michael Fassbender.
Correct.
And he's fine with it, you know?
Yeah.
We all of us who aren't that good looking have to be fine with it.
That's right. That's how it works.
Okay, so organics I figured out they were synthetics because we got organics attacking them, like shooting at them.
Mm-hmm. But not only are they shooting at them, they specifically point out that they're using paralytics and non-lethal electrical charges to go after them. So these organics are not trying to kill these androids, which actually becomes relevant later.
Yeah, because on this page, one of them very clearly is killing. I see. Okay. So they did just kill two or three of these guys, and now they're saying, oh shit, these are paralytic rounds.
Yep.
So the synths, our plucky group of synths here have killed these guys.
That is correct. At least some of them, yes. This probably won't come as a surprise, but turns out there are more of them.
Sure.
More soldiers, not more synths.
So our main, Freya, is that right?
Yeah.
So Freya, she wants to take some of them alive for interrogation.
Yeah, Freya's the one that was free soloing earlier. Yes.
Right. Frey soloing.
Ah, I see what you did there. Nice.
Okay, so the synthetics have now found the base of operations for these military dudes. And it looks like this team is being run by General Thunderbolt Ross.
He sure does look like that. That is correct.
Is this just like generic comic book army general look? Is old guy, gray hair, mustache, you know? Yeah,
pretty much. I mean, and plus you got to remember Thunderbolt Ross, also from a Marvel comic, you know?
True, yeah.
I'm not implying that this is Thunderbolt Ross because we're given this guy's name and that's not what it is. However,
his name is George March.
That is correct. Lieutenant General George March, specifically.
I don't respect this man, so I don't really care about his rank.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, okay. So they've been tracking these synths for a while, and the synth group here, they mentioned that this planet's atmosphere is toxic enough that humans don't come around. That's pretty fucking that's a cool detail, honestly.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't come up, but yeah, it's a little bit of verisimilitude that they add to the comic.
Because they're synths. They don't need to.
Yeah, exactly. They don't need it.
I like that. I just like that it opens them up. So this team of synthetics who are clearly trying to get away from something. Yeah, and no wonder the place is so peaceful. Like, man can't be here to destroy it unless they plant a whole bunch of Weyland-Yutani atmospheric processors.
That is correct.
So he's here because he needs their help with something.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. And the best way to get them on your side is to like attack them with guns. And
well, the quote-unquote justification he gives is that if we had just walked up and asked, you would have said no. And it's like, well, yeah, but you also attacked them. That's probably also likely going to make them say no.
They always give that excuse, and it is kind of like, hey, just ask. If you get the no, then you attack and you force them. Like you fucking dudes always like have to go for the guns first. Like it's a kind of a tired trope. Like I've seen it, you know. I've
I
seen it in a
mean,
lot of stuff.
on the other hand, that's humans, baby.
Yeah. So what is this? Let me read up a little bit more.
Yeah, take your time. Just had a swig of my cool, refreshing Faygo orange.
Okay, so this team used to work for Thunderbolt Ross here, and he's trying to get them back, right? Because there's a huge catastrophe on, looks like a farming planet, an agricultural complex.
Yep.
On Demeter 2. We're getting a lot of planets in this. Remind me, by the way, we have to add all of these synthetics to our synthetics list. We're trying our alphabet list.
Yep.
The United Systems runs 25 colonies in this system. So this is a different organization than Weyland Yutani, right? This is the United Systems running this.
This is the United Systems like government. Yes.
Right. And they had a nuclear reactor catastrophically fail. So the radiation can't be counteracted with usual treatments. It's a death sentence for anyone exposed. Jesus Christ. So
yeah, basically they had a nuclear reactor meltdown and the entire place got bathed in like radiation that you can't do anything about.
And if they lose this area, 1 billion people will starve or be displaced. I'm a little confused because it's all irradiated. Are they trying to like find something that will remove the radiation?
Well,
I guess
sort of,
right.
Sort of, because at the very end, like, you know, he says that, like, you know, over 1 billion people will be dead or displaced and we need your help. And then one of the synths, I believe it's Eli, says, I don't know what you want us to do about it. And he says, we need you to go to Tobler 9.
Yeah, go check out the first 4 pages of this comic book. Go there.
to see what happened there, which, by the way, I should point out that scene at the beginning where we saw Tobler 9 that took place in 2205, so 12 years before the rest of this comic took place.
Gotcha.
And like, you know, that like 4 pages or whatever ends with a bunch of xenomorphs showing up and killing people. So
that place gotta be like a hot mess.
They imply and then later on directly state in this issue that like the planet has become overrun by xenomorphs.
Okay, that's kind of cool. But this is where we're looking at systemic famine and economic collapse. So my bad. So so according to our designations, I fucked up this reactor.
Correct. I mean, like, there's there was another one another one of the designations on the list I made earlier was conference interferer or something like that. And that was from the very beginning during the flashback scene to Tobler 9. There was like a government conference happening when the xenomorph showed up and started killing everyone, which means if you had chosen that designation, your designation would have just been xenomorph, effectively.
We got to save that for a special episode. So I just want to rewind here a little bit. On that credits page, I forgot to point this out. I noticed this earlier. When they're talking about Tobler 9, the city of the future, it says warning organisms. Then it says see also Nostromo, Hadley's Hope, Epsilon Station, and Eurydice. And I know Epsilon Station is the first story arc in the Marvel series. And
Eurydice is the second.
Eurydice is the second.
Yeah.
Interesting that there's like some things that have been generally accepted as canon, like Alien Isolation, for instance, that are like, so it's not like C. Sevastopol, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. And I'm wondering if there's a weird thing because there were so many Dark Horse books that used those characters. Used used Amanda Ripley and like a lot of stuff based on those events that like they just can't access that anymore, or if this is like a conscious choice to like set their own continuity. Be kind of a bummer to lose all of that, but I understand that shit happens, you know. I
was under the impression, because like if you noticed on the credits page where you said warning organisms, on the other page on the credits that block of text on the top,
Yeah.
like, gives you like the gist of like the major stuff that's happened in this universe so far.
Right.
And the stuff they list is the events of Alien, the events of Aliens, and then the events of the first 2 arcs of the first volume of this comic.
Right.
And those, like the first 2 sections where they mentioned the events of Alien and Aliens, those were also in the first 2 arcs of the comic as well on the title page. And there was a lot of speculation about, is this setting like a new timeline canon where like, is this comic writing Alien 3 and 4 out of the canon of the franchise?
Sure.
But it ended up being a moot point because the events of those comics don't reference or call back to the events of 3 or 4 either way. They just don't get mentioned at all, so they don't really answer that question. So like everyone was asking, but turns out who fucking knows, it didn't matter anyway, whatever.
Right. It's a little bit of a bummer to think like if they're not going to touch or not even say Alien Isolation happened, that like we're really not going to get an Alien Isolation sequel, are we? Like a proper one.
I mean,
at this point.
Dude, that game came out 8 years ago.
2137 is the year it's set in. So we're already past that in the Marvel timeline.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean it didn't happen.
Yeah. Maybe there's just right stuff they have to work out still, kind of like they had to do with Predator, you know? Anyway, just those are side notes, conversation. Yeah. So, we get to see we get to hear him talk about the old Weyland-Yutani red site. Mm-hmm. That is Tobler 9, which I just want to say Toblerone every time I see it. So I just need to get that out of my head. And then here's the reference to the Eurydice incident from Alien Revival, that second story arc.
But basically the gist he gives here, though, is that Tobler 9 is like the off-world, like, headquarters for Weyland-Yutani R&D to do stuff that is illegal to do on Earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's like the reason they're set up on this planet.
Right.
Yeah.
I like these shots of these images of Tobler 9, like getting the city overgrown, the same futuristic city and like the Space Needle looking spire we saw at the beginning. Everything's overgrown. There's skulls in it. The hallways are getting, mucked up by alien nest stuff. And I always love when we see the xenomorphs like in the walls.
Yeah, that rules so fucking hard.
Yeah, you get a little. So I was fucking around with Alien versus Predator 2 on the PC again a couple nights ago. That fucking game. But like, there are a couple moments where they'll jump out at you from the wall. I haven't gotten to those yet, but I'm like in the areas where you're starting to see a lot of alien nesting, and I'm like, oh god, it's gonna fucking happen. Anyway, so he wants to send them in to get a. Some kind of, they're describing it as a catch-all biologic.
Yep.
So this is like an injection that just like does a lot of like super soldier serum, basically. This is Thunderbolt Ross and the super soldier serum.
It's basically a generalized health booster that gives you like a wide variety of effects. But the reason they want it is because one of those effects is that it like massively boosts your
resistance to radiation.
Yeah, resistance, that's the word I was looking for. It massively boosts your like, resistance to like otherwise lethal or deadly radiation. And so their plan basically is, since they since he mentioned earlier that the radiation is of a type that they can't like scrub out or whatever, their plan is basically to all those people that live on that planet, give them this injection so the radiation won't kill them.
Okay. I kind of dig this. So this is like a heist comic, right? And they're sending the synthetics in because the aliens, the xenomorphs, have overtaken Tobler 9, and they know that synthetics are generally kind of safe around aliens, like we were talking about earlier, right? The xenomorphs tend to leave them alone. If they sent like a team of troops down there, they'd be wiped out in 30 seconds. But if we send in this team of synthetics, the SEAL team,
as they call themselves,
which is a very funny joke about like this, a SEAL team, right?
Yeah, I don't get me wrong, I thought it was extremely dumb, but I did laugh.
Yeah. So if he sends them in, then they stand a chance. And I I dig it. Freya's like, hey, we're just a family now. We're not soldiers. We're not a SEAL team. And Thunderbolt Ross here promises them that if they do this mission, they can be granted full citizenship of the United Systems, which means I guess they won't be. They seem to be fugitives of some kind, or at the very least runaways, right? Like they're hiding from something. So this is kind of like, this is classic heist shit, right? Like pull you in for one last job. I got the one thing you need to move on with your life, right?
I got so excited when I read this because I saw this and he's like, oh, he's going to give them citizenship. Wait a minute. He's offering them the same thing that Hellboy got from the UN. They're offering them legal human status.
This is like a classic. This is classic heist movie setup. I'm not lying. I'm getting psyched about this. This is fun.
But there's one last little bit of info there at the bottom of the page.
There fucking is. According to our records, the company synthesized part of their biologic from the organism, an embryo or something, and some kind of alien egg. So is the heist to go steal that?
Well,
or is that just like a warning?
Specifically, the heist is to steal like the compound, like the health booster that they made, like based off of data that they got from the ovomorph. Gotcha. I don't think they're there to steal the ovomorph itself, although it would be extremely funny if they were. They spend 5 issues stealing an ovomorph, and then the end of the comic is them bringing it back, and then the facehugger jumping out from the ovomorph and killing whoever it is they give it to.
Okay, was I a little bit mixed up? So this is just a standard ovomorph. I was reading this as like they synthesized something from the general ovomorph, and then it looked like, because this thing is on its side and in a containment field in a room full of other ovomorphs, I was like, is this thing a little different? Did they then create like a new egg out of the compound that they made or something?
I mean, I'm just assuming that the final panel of the issue where it shows like an ovomorph under glass in this little case, I'm assuming they're showing that just to make us go, oh no, they're talking about an ovomorph, gasp.
But they're showing it, but they're also showing it in a room full of other ovomorphs.
Some of which have already opened.
But you can see where this is probably going, right? Where they're not going to be able to get the biologic, but they're going to steal the ovomorph so they can resynthesize the biologic, right?
Yeah, but then they have an ovomorph. What if someone gets killed by it,
Well, it's in stasis, but yeah, this is, I bet at the end of the day, some kind of Weyland-Yutani plan to get the ovomorph back, or the United Worlds, whatever, to get their own or something. I don't know. I don't care. Not going to lie. I got fucking hyped. That's the end of the issue.
Yeah, that is how the issue ends, yeah.
We got a tiny bit of Xenomorph action at the beginning, one panel of it, but the idea of a synthetic, these seem like military synthetics too. These are battle bots, right?
Yeah, they said at one point that it's when the general tracked him down and was telling about how we came here because we wanted to ask your help or whatever, and the synths are absolutely not. And then the general is look, we understand that the military fucked you over. You have every reason to be pissed off at us because we stabbed you in the back, all these other things. And then later on, they confirm that, they used to be in the United Systems military.
Sure. The idea of a synth team getting back together for one last job, a fucking bank heist on a planet overrun with aliens. I'm sorry, I'm a sucker for a heist movie. I don't care. A heist story, I guess. Although, as I said, I think last episode, comics are like movies for your mind, man. I'm looking forward to issue 2.
I will say that the main thing I'm looking forward to about this storyline is how they said that Tobler 9, the planet they're going to, completely fucking covered in xenomorphs. Top to bottom, just swarmed. The specific word they use in the comic is literally it's blanketed in the creatures.
It is blanketed in
xenomorphs. What I'm looking forward to about that is since it's synths that's going in and has to go through these xenomorphs, I'm interested in seeing how they make the comic exciting
Sure.
when xenomorphs are already established as not giving a shit about synths. So they're not
Sure.
really like ostensibly, as of right now, not knowing where the comic goes or what happens in it. Ostensibly, they're not really going to have to fight a lot of xenomorphs. So I'm very intrigued on seeing how they manage to make an interesting and thrilling and like horror-y comic out of an idea where it's like one group of people doesn't want to engage the second, but the second doesn't give a shit that the first is even there, you know?
Right. But
like both of them are staying away from the other, so I'm intrigued at how finding out how the comic is going to make that fun.
I've got some theories. Like there's going to be like some holdout human survivors that are holed up somewhere.
Oh, for sure.
There's going to be something aggressive that happens that suddenly the xenomorphs start ripping apart synthetics. You know, it's kind of, this is kind of like, did you ever see that movie Doomsday? I think Neal Marshall directed it. Rona Mitra starred in it.
I'm
Bob
pretty
Hoskins,
sure, yeah.
I think Bob Hoskins was in it too.
I'm pretty sure I did.
It's kind of got a Mad Max style. It's like a
oh yeah the one that has like the screaming lady with like the black line over her eyes on the cover. Yeah, okay, yep,
yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's a weird story where like an area of Europe, of England, I think, got quarantined because of like a virus outbreak, and they just built this giant wall around it. And then Rona Mitra's character has to get sent in to like recover a tissue sample of, or maybe it's an actual person of somebody who's become immune to the virus, so they can synthesize a cure for it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then she encounters like the people who have like adapted and are like, it's like a Mad Max style like tribal car warfare kind of shit. It's a badass movie, but like I'm getting vibes of that from this, like a similar setup, you know. We know it's dangerous, you're the only one who can go in, etc. I think it's gonna, and it sounds easy on paper, right? Like, yeah, you're robots, just walk in and out, you know. But it's never that simple, because otherwise this wouldn't be a 6-part series.
Correct.
You know, this would have been like, there's like 2 issues. Like the next issue, we see them, they land, they just kind of walk through. We get to see xenomorphs just chilling. They grab the thing, they get back out, and like, all right, done. You know,
the heist is done by issue 2.
Honestly, that story I just described, I'd kind of like to fucking see. Wouldn't that be kind of fucking cool?
And then it turns out like the rest of it is just like, you know, they couldn't get the, like, you know, the actual compound or whatever. So they bring back the ovomorph and they're like, all right, well, you can synthesize it from this. And then the face hugger jumps out and then attaches onto somebody.
Holy
and then
shit.
a xenomorph comes out of them and just starts eating all these people after, you know.
Dude, I bet that has a very real chance of happening, actually. Like they could be done with the heist after issue 2 or 3 and be bringing that sample back, and then like shit goes crazy on like the Icarus station or something, right? And that's why it's called that.
Exactly, because like think about it, dude. What would be the narrative relevance of specifically going out of their way to point out that the compound is synthesized from an ovomorph,
right?
If it's not going to be narratively relevant that it's a fucking ovomorph, you know?
That's our rabbit's foot right there. I'm looking forward to reading the rest of this, honestly. Like I dug this. I dug this more than, and I dig this premise more than I did the other Marvel Alien books I've read, including that one Aliens special they did where the people went back to Hadley's Hope, which we'll be talking about soon.
I will say I also did, like, you know, because when the first arc of the first volume came out, the one with like the alpha, you know, and all that. Yeah. When that one came out, that didn't have a name. It was retroactively given the name Bloodlines when it was released as a trade paperback volume.
Yes.
And there is one thing I would like to talk about, like, you know, how we were talking about earlier about how it's the same writer, but it's a different artist as the first volume of the comic.
The art in this is good.
I actually wanted to talk about not just the art, but specifically the art, like comparing the art of the 2 volumes of the book so far.
The art in this is better.
Here's the thing. Ultimately, I do like the art in this book better than in volume 1, but I think I liked the look of the xenomorphs in volume 1 more.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I think they looked really fucking good. Like that dude's art style. I don't remember what the artist's name was for volume 1, sorry, but
Let me try to
his
pull it up.
art
I think I've got it
his art
handy.
style on that book, I fucking loved the way he drew Xenomorphs. It was like a little bit more detailed. It had a little bit more shading and shadow to it, and I thought it worked really well for specifically the design of the Xenomorph.
Sure.
But I thought his art for all of the characters that aren't Xenomorphs were not great. Like I thought all of his human or humanoid characters, they didn't look the same, but they all kind of had like a sameness to them
Yeah,
that
they
made
did.
them all look kind of similar. So I thought his xenomorphs were really good, but I thought his human characters weren't as good.
Right.
In this book has like a noticeably different art style where it's like it's more standard comic book style.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I like the Xenomorphs in volume 1 better, but this art style, since it's a little bit less detailed, a little bit like, a little bit more not cartoony, but just a little bit less realistic looking,
Right.
and it's a little bit more simplistic, well, simple, not simplistic. The characters pop more and look more unique and visually distinct.
Yeah.
And so in volume 1, Xenomorphs, really good. Human characters, okay. In this one, Xenomorphs pretty good, but humans also pretty good. So overall, I think this book probably has better art than the first one did.
Yeah. So the artist in volume 1, Salvador La Roca, and he's a good artist. I think that the issue with the humans in that came down to the colorist and probably doing embellishings also, Guru EFX.
Yeah.
You can tell I mean, I know digital coloring is the norm, but on these, like, he was going for, like, it looks like there's all this extra embellishment added to try to make them look a little bit more real, and it just kind of falls into that uncanny valley of,
yeah, like all the little embellishments and details and stuff just make everything look cluttered rather than distinct.
And everyone's a little shiny in it also is the other thing.
Yeah, it's like the human characters, they look okay, but they don't look great. But I think the Xenomorphs look real good in that book.
Yeah.
But yeah, like overall, I think this book has the edge in art because the slightly more cartoony and less detailed and more standard comic booky like style of art this book has, everything has that. So like everything, the xenomorphs and the humans and the landscapes and the animals, everything looks like that. So it has like a more like consistently distinct like visual style over the course of the book,
Right. I think the first alien volume, the art, some people are going to get this. You probably will too. The art's got a Avatar Press feel to it. It's got like a Friday the 13th Jason versus Jason X comic book feel, or
yep.
Or who's the publisher, the Grimm's Fairy Tales?
That's Zenoscope, I believe.
Zenoscope. It's got that kind of like mid 2000s vibe to it.
Very Michael Turner Fathom looking,
Maybe in the coloring. I see what you're saying there.
Yeah, like not like the pencil work, but like there's a style of maybe it's the coloring, maybe it's the shading, maybe it's the inking. I don't know. But like I know what you mean, though. I'm just trying to think of like other exampes. But yes,
Michael Turner, a fucking all-star, rest in peace, in my opinion, honestly. We're not throwing you we're not lumping you in with Avatar Press comics. Also, just as anyone needs to know this, I'm a fucking terrible artist, and every single person who's drawn a comic book draws one better than I possibly could. So I'm not like throwing shade, but we have both read a lot of comics, and so we're just talking about it. I was lukewarm on that first Marvel run, what I read of it. The art was not my biggest issue with it. Although I think that I think the art in this is a big improvement for me personally, and probably part of why I'm getting hyped to see the rest of this series. So I'm hooked. I'm in. I am 100% in. What about you, Kenny? I could see myself if we weren't doing this podcast and I had just picked up issue 1, I would definitely be buying issue 2, even if it wasn't for us to do on the podcast. Like, I would just want to read issue 2 and keep going with the series. Kenny, what about you? Would you, in a vacuum, outside of the context of this podcast, having read issue 1, would you stick with this series?
In this hypothetical, do I still care about Alien as a franchise or no?
I mean, it's like if we just weren't doing the show and you were like, "Oh,
okay,
I'll pick up a, you know."
So just like
hold on,
strictly,
wait. Bigger question: do you only care about Alien because of the show? Like,
no.
Okay.
As I've pointed out before, I watched the movies before we started doing the show. Although, as I believe I've gone on record with before, all of the ancillary stuff like the games and the novels and the book, or I already said novels, the comics and stuff like that. I've played I played a little bit of Isolation like a few years after it came out.
Right.
And there was like 1 or 2 other things that I did, but 95% plus of the entire franchise I hadn't touched before we started doing the show.
Right.
However, your question was basically, if I'm at the store and I turn and look at the shelf and I see, hey, there is an Alien #1 and I pick it up and read it, will this book on its own in a vacuum by itself, will that make me want to read issue 2?
Yes.
Is that what you're asking?
That's the question.
The answer is yes, because I did like this comic. I thought it was cool. I thought it was fun. I thought it was intriguing. The only thing that I wish it did, and I understand why it didn't, because this is the issue 1. It's introducing all the characters, setting up all the plots and everything.
Yeah.
I wish there was more than 1 panel of xenomorphs in this comic.
Sure, I agree, but at least it's better than that first Warren Ellis Invincible Iron Man issue where you don't see Tony Stark in the Iron Man suit at all.
Yeah.
Even though I think that run was pretty good. Warren Ellis makes a good comic generally.
Yeah.
At least we got a page and then a tease at the end,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily complaining. It's not like in the sense of if I was giving this issue a numerical points ranking, I wouldn't be lowering the score because there was only 1 panel of xenomorphs.
Right.
Because it's like, if I'm on issue 5 of this series and there's 1 panel of xenomorphs in it, then I'm going to be mad. But this is issue 1. It's fine.
Yeah.
I will allow it to just take the entire issue to set it up. That's fine.
If we're pacing, this is 1/6 of the story, right? So in anything else Alien related, I guess Alien 3, you see the facehuggers right away. Alien Resurrection, you see xenomorph stuff pretty quickly. Everything else, it's usually a third of the way in, halfway in, where the alien stuff really starts kicking,
And at the end of this issue, it even had a little blurb that said, next, going to Tobler 9 or whatever. Right. And we already know that planet is, quote, blanketed in xenomorphs. So once they arrive on that planet, there's going to be xenos all over, baby.
So this planet is Tobler 9, right?
That is correct.
Hypothetically, the 9th planet in the Tobler system.
Theoretically, yeah.
So that implies the existence of a planet called Tobler 1.
Yes.
Which is a candy bar. That's all.
That is correct, yes.
So I keep wanting to say Toblerone. It's like, you know what? Yeah. There's a Tobler 1 out there. It is the most delicious planet in the system. Mountains of toffee.
Correct, yes.
And rivers of melted chocolate. I don't know. Sounds delicious,
Who knows,
though.
Whatever. Well, let's hope the xenomorphs aren't there, too.
Oh, my God. Could you imagine? They'd probably
xenomorphs on a Toblerone-based sugar rush all the time.
Yeah, dude. They'd be fucking... they already bounce off the fucking walls. They'd just be, popping. They'd probably just explode.
They'd turn into a tornado like the Tasmanian devil.
Dude, it'd be...
like Taz. Sorry.
Or are you, one giant, a Sharknado of xenomorphs?
That would be great, man. I would watch the hell out of that.
Jesus Christ. I'm going to have nightmares later. Next episode, we can announce it because we know what we're doing for sure.
Yep.
We are talking about Alien Isolation, the novel.
Correct. I was going to say we're not talking about the game, but like the stuff that happens in the game is also reflected in the novelization. Right. But like the stuff about like, you know, our experiences playing the game and all that kind of stuff, that's not going to be in this episode because we're also going to do an episode about the game. This is specifically about the 2019 novelization of Alien Isolation.
Yeah, sometime down the line we're going to do the game, we're going to do the web series, we're probably going to do Blackout, the sort of mobile sequel to the game, maybe just like a whole Amanda Ripley month.
Yeah, there's also a Isolation one-shot prequel comic we can do as well.
Sure, there's also an Isolation table in Aliens versus Pinball available on Android and iOS, presumably.
So yeah, we have enough that if we want to, we could do an entire Amanda month if we feel like it. So,
but we're doing the novel because the novel ties. I mean, obviously the story takes place after Alien, before Aliens, right in where we are in the timeline and our continuity journey here. But also the novel dives deeply into. We get some like Ripley leaving on the Nostromo information. We get a lot of Amanda's memories of growing up with her mother. We get some more Ripley info that is just worth getting into, I think.
Yeah, like anyone that's played the game but not read the novel, this may come as a surprise to you, but they added a whole bunch of flashbacks and flashback-based subplots into the novel, as well as at least 2 major characters in Amanda's life that are not in or referenced at all in the game.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the reason why we decided to do the novel rather than the game, because the novel has all the stuff the game does, but also a bunch more stuff.
Right. And of course the story does end up being kind of a direct continuation of the Nostromo's story.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. We're going to spoil it on the next episode. But we're going to talk, I mean, you know, it's going to be a lot of conversation about those events, the events on Sevastopol, and of course, just diving into Amanda's and Ellen's history.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you haven't read the novel, don't worry, we got you covered. We're going to fill you in about all of it.
And as I said earlier, if you played the game but haven't read the novel, there's still a whole bunch more stuff that you haven't heard of that we'll be talking about.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to go ahead and spoil it now, Kenny. I really dug the novel.
I like it too. Yeah, I actually really like it a lot. Like all the stuff that they added, some of the stuff is kind of like standard boilerplate stereotypical stuff.
Right.
But like some of the stuff they put in there, I actually genuinely really do like a lot.
Yeah, me too. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
But I definitely have a few gripes. But it was a nice experience. It was a nice reading experience. So we're going to dive into that on the next episode. For now, though, I'm going to go find somebody to play Tiny Magic the Gathering with.
Good luck.
Might be a callback to something that got edited out of the episode. So if you want to know what that's about, you can tweet us. Where can people tweet us, Kenny?
They can tweet at us on Twitter, where our handle is at Crew Expendapod.
Yeah. We're also on Instagram at Crew Expendable Pod. And we have a website, crewexpendable.net, where you can find all of our episodes and all of the links to subscribe to the show in your podcast platform of choice. Kenny, where can people find you online?
I am on Twitter. My handle is at CYHOBBEZ.
And I am on Twitter at Final Neal. That's Neal with an A. And Instagram at Final Neal Retro. And I have another podcast all about Mortal Kombat, movies, TV shows, comic books, cartoons, etc. Anything but the games. Anything at all except the games, with maybe 2 exceptions. You can find that at mkpodquest.com. All right, Kenny, let's see about getting these engines going on this Sulaco, because I'm kind of tired of just orbiting this planet. What do you think?
Yeah, we're just seeing the same stuff over and over again. I think we need to get a better look out the viewport,
We got to rotate, we got to move orbit so that we can get a better data connection to broadcast, to transmit this episode.
That's right.
When I edit that, it's going to sound nice and smooth, and I'm going to leave in this part where talking about that was edited to sound smoother than it was, because it was a fucking mess. That's the wild turkey talking. Until next time, stay frosty.